Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Murphy's Law Garage. Today, we install a radio and a backup camera.
And a backup camera.
And a backup camera on a 2007 Honda Pilot.
And XM radio.
And XM radio. I have no idea what I've gotten myself into, but it's relatively early in the morning for me, and we'll just figure that out as we go. Stay tuned. All right.
Cue the music.
Dang it. All right, everyone. So, as with many things electrical, we don't want to leave this battery connected while we're playing with wires because inevitably we're going to short something and find out what ozone smells like. So, generally I say when working with something as detailed as tearing the dash apart in a vehicle, I would remove the negative and the positive from the battery. Depending on what you're doing, it's usually good enough just to remove the negative, but we don't want to take any chance of that cable that we fold out of the way finding its way back down. We could wipe it in a rag, wrap it in a rag, so on and so forth, but just not worth it. We want to make sure that this vehicle completely bleeds itself before we start working so that we protect the sensitive electronics inside of it. That's a modern vehicle thing. You didn't see us being so cautious with the Bronco, though I'm not sure that we were ever so cautious with the Bronco. So what I'm going to do is remove the negative first, the positive first, give it a minute to make sure it's going to bleed down, and then remove the negative.
Like, there's only one way to go, and it's full. Kaplow.
All right, David.
What's up?
Tell me how long it's been that I'm supposed to have done this.
I think I bought that. Stand by. No paperwork. This is from 2020.
Might be on the box somewhere if we cover this.
No.
Ah, oh well.
I want to say I bought it in
It's been a long time.
before the hurricane.
It was before COVID.
Before the COVID?
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think this might have been a 2019-2020 purchase.
12/15/2020.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been a while, and this was originally intended to go in the Bronco, though our hardcore viewers know that though we didn't shoot a video on it, the Bronco is gone.
She gone.
Yep.
Boat's on the way.
So that makes David happy. We're going to put all of this, which includes a steering wheel control integration unit, Sirius XM, a backup camera, which is not Bluetooth per David's memory. It's hardwired, so we get to tear up the interior of the car. Double DIN dash, wiring harness that's got loose wires on the end, so I no doubt get to destroy something there too. And the bad boy here, an Exelon Kenwood with Apple CarPlay, though it's like 3 years old now, so I'm sure there's like Chinese Android knockoffs that do it just about as well at this point. That's how electronics work. Still a beautiful head unit. So battery's disconnected over there. Let's see if I can figure out how to get into his dash without Googling anything and not break any plastic. All right, so the scary part is done. This car's never had its trim pulled forward. Hey, Don. It's never had the trim pulled forward before, so I used this trim tool right here, which is designed to hook the plastic. I got up right here and tried to pull this away. This side popped, which is fine. But that allowed me to then get this trim working loose. So now all I'm going to do is work my way around this trim to pop this bezel out, and then we can get access to the radio. I think there's probably a good chance here that this shifter might get in our way, but we'll figure that out when we get there. All right, and y'all might randomly see some Rugrats running around here because David's had a bunch of them. And this one decided he wants to help. No problem there. So I've got this popped loose. I just worked my hand around here until it popped forward, and then able to work this out of the hole. Now
Go outside and watch your video.
Column shifter is a little in the way, but if you kind of fold it up like this, it'll lay up out the way. And yes, I've already disconnected the two clips in here for the wiring harness, and these are very simple. They've just got two buttons on the back side here that we need to depress and then slide them out. So now that they're out of our way, we're just going to put them off to the side. And it looks like we've got a bolt here, a bolt there, a bolt there, and a bolt there, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of wiring behind it, so I'm going to get access to it. So there may or may not be a CD that's of somewhat importance to a child stuck inside of this CD player, though hopefully either wifey can obtain digital versions to play on her fancy new radio, or we are destroying a high-end 6-disc changer from early 2000s. Daddy! John really wants to see Daddy.
Okay.
Anyways, all 4 bolts out. This is now loose. There's wires and things plugged in back there.
Look how pretty that is.
Yeah, right. Nothing crazy. There's going to be a ton of space in there once we set up for the other wiring, but let's go ahead and figure that out. So what I've got here is the crux adapter. The box is on the floor right here, and this allows us to maintain the steering wheel controls and adapt the wires. Yeah, that's for the windshield wipers.
Could you stop? Just rip it off the car.
So this allows us to integrate into the Honda harness and reuse the existing wiring and steering wheel controls and all of that fun stuff. So I've got us plugged into the main harness here, which grabs the speakers and power and everything else. And then there's a breakout harness that goes right here to a dip switch interface. And for our specific application for Kenwood and a 2007 Honda, this is what the dip switches need to look like. That is on, off, off, on, off, off, on. And then this, of course, plugs into a radio depending on how it's controlled by the car for those steering wheel controls. Some will use a wire interface, some will use the 3.5 plug. And then it also comes with the adapter for the antenna, and depending again on the radio, you might need this one, you might not, and then here's the antenna. So I'm going to look at our reverse camera wiring, because chances are that's going to be a little bit more challenging and we need to try to route that, as well as this car has Sirius XM and we could integrate into it and use it, but it doesn't work very well. So David got a separate module with the antenna. So we also need to try to get this to the outside of the car and attach to it without too much drama. Not sure exactly where we're going to do that just yet, but I'll show y'all what we've done once I figure that out. All right, so this is the situation we've got going on. The rear view camera wire is strung out in the driveway. You can see here we have the Sirius XM wire for the antenna. And David figured probably the best way to try to do this, and I had my serious reservations considering that hump in the middle of the car, some sort of safety support, but he was actually able to get that to shoot through. I don't know if you can see it, a little bit of orange right there.
That's what the best wire one can do.
Yeah. Pull it down a little bit so people can see the orange fish tape is right there. There you go. The orange fish tape is actually shot all the way through. So what we're going to do is I've got the rear view camera wire taped on here to the orange fish tape. We've got the Sirius XM antenna. You can see here the Sirius XM antenna is going up under the headliner. It goes up through the boot. It comes out of the bottom of the boot, nice tight small hole. Goes under the gasket right there. And then, boop, just off center, the antenna sits right there. And the reason why we're just off center is because this gap gets really tight when the hatch is all the way up. So I've got it just off center so there's a bit more room, and we've articulated the hatch and that looks okay. Frankly, I have no idea how well this is going to go, and I only have one hand. So I say we send David into the Honda and let him pull, and I'm going to monitor what's going to happen here and see if this is a failure or a success. Hey, nice and easy, buddy. Hard stop. Let me back off of it. Oh, there it goes. That wire will never come back out of wherever you're pulling it ever again. When you do that, it moves. And then nothing. Okay, going to see if we can get this through that headliner. Be right back. All right, so next step, of course, is to remove the plastic in here so that we can get these wires passed up. That rear view camera wire now needs to migrate through this harness loom into the trunk. There are plenty of YouTube videos of many other people showing you how to take these plastics off, but basically there's a pair of plugs right here, there's a handle right here that needs to come off, and then it was just all clips, very carefully removed with a decent set of trim tools. You must get these if you're going to work on old plastics, otherwise you'll break something. Came pretty close on one of them, but looks like all the clips survived. So we're going to work on passing that wire. All right, so this is where we are. We've got the slack pulled all the way through to the front. And of course, as I said before, we've got the wire for the Sirius XM right here. We've passed the RCA cable through here, up inside, out here, wrapped around the existing loom, around, over, through, and comes out right here. Now, we've gone ahead and mounted the camera. It's not adjusted yet, but you see we're passing it through the lamp lighting right there. Trying to be as least destructive as possible. So now we've got to supply power to this. So these two right here, this one's for the LEDs that are on the camera module. And this one right here tells the head unit that you put it in reverse. Both of these need to go to the reverse lights, which are right there. So that needs to be wired there. The more challenging bit is going to be this sucker right here, which is switched 12 volt to the camera. I've got a feeling, just looking at what's on this hatch, that none of this wiring in this harness here is going to be switched 12. But I've got my test light with me, and we're going to go looking for it. If not, there is a cigarette lighter outlet right there for charging stuff, and we'll just have to try not to break plastic while getting to those wires. All right, for those of you following along at home, this harness right here clips onto a light with a switch, which is right there. And because of that, David found this, so I would have went poking for it, but good job, David. Because of that, this is constant power because the switch is on the circuit. And if you needed to know, the white wire with blue trace or silver dot, which if we scoot over here, is this guy right here, is going to be constant power. The orange silver dot is going to be ground for that constant power. And in this guy right here, the green silver dot black tracer is going to be what needs to tie to reverse light trigger, which as you can see is right here. Green silver dot black tracer. So we're going to go ahead and wire all this up, tidy it up, and bring it back. All right. So as you can see here, if the camera will focus, somewhere, there it is. I've gone ahead and soldered in. Yes, this would be a good situation for some nice taps or Scotch locks. We didn't have them, but we're soldered in real pretty, and now I'm just going to clean up this wiring, zip tie it, get it up out the way, and probably have David throw it in reverse real quick just to make sure that we're getting it to light up in the back.
And we're going to cover up the exposed wiring, exposed copper.
No, I was just going to rub
I was just making sure that people understood we weren't just about to zip tie it, close it up, and call it good.
No, I think that looks just fine like that.
Yeah, all three of them touching together.
Yep, I think so. Now you see, Uncle David, can't you have faith? Even put red tape on it so a technician working on this many years from now, while this thing is still running when the cockroaches are dying, they'll be able to tell that we destroyed the wiring harness of this vehicle right here. All right, maybe we put the hatch down, hook the battery up for a second, and just make sure that the lights come up on that camera.
You ready,
all right.
John?
Accessory in reverse. Let's see if things happen. Cool, that's bright. All right, reverse lights. Got reverse on the camera. Reverse light, boom. All right, time to move on to wiring up front. We might have finally lost the kids, David. I don't know how long that's going to last for, but
till the rain stops.
and then they'll be running around. So what we've done is the wires started out right here, we use the fish tape to pass them, tight space, to here, and then pull the gasket out. Follow the inside of the panel. Of course, something that's important here is this has got an airbag here, so you need to get behind the airbag so the wire doesn't stop the airbag from deploying. Very important, do that. Followed this channel down right here. I've popped the gasket back in already, but it's behind the gasket. You can get right behind the plastic. Went sideways through here, up over all of the wires right here and everything that needs to move. Fish tape stuck down through here, poked out down there, pulled it up, and now both of our wires that came from the back of the car are where the radio is. Yep. So now
with
we
an
can,
extra 30 feet.
Yeah, we'll just stuff that in the dash somewhere. It'll be all right. Yeah. Make a rattle you'll never find. Now we need to take this pigtail and mate it to the Kenwood pigtail, which is in the box over there. And then if we cross our fingers really, really tight, we plug this in, and it just works.
It's just that easy.
That's never how this works.
Never.
But, you know, we can pray and hope, and maybe it'll happen.
You'd have thought they'd come up with something that had a plug.
They do, if you think ahead far enough to know, and I'm surprised. And I think it's just because you had to have this silly thing right here to make your steering wheel controls work again. If you weren't trying to make the steering wheel's controls work again, Crutchfield could have sold you the adapter that had Kenwood on this side and Honda on this side. But because we don't, and we have to use this, we get to solder, you know, a dozen wires together or more. So we're going to go do that. We're going to pin this out, and this is different for everyone's application, so I'm not going to show you this, but we'll make it pretty and then bring you back when we're plugging it in, and inevitably it blows up and nothing works, and we have to figure out what we did wrong.
And get a new car.
Yep. Fast forward here a bit. I've made up our harness, and I've kind of taped it together loosely here. And we've got our Metra double DIN dash kit here installed on this Kenwood radio. So it's ready to go in. I'm hoping this is the park sense wire, the parking brake. Hopefully we don't have to use this mess, but we'll find out. And we need to run the USB cable to a usable place, preferably right here like you would in a modern car. So we really need this to hop out the way, and we just pull all the screws out. This piece of trim right here, if you run a trim tool up this seam right here, it'll pop away and you can get the screws out. So we're about to figure out what screws we missed that hold this thing in and get it out our way so we can run the USB down. All right, everyone. So we got this trim bezel out of here. Those silver handles on either side pop right off if you pull on them a little harder. And then to get this out, you've got a few screws around the outside of it, obviously, but there's also a screw hidden all the way down there. David tried to point to it, this in the back. So one of the things we need to do, like I said, is get this USB to where it can be plugged into for Apple CarPlay. And the decision we made was there is a light that goes right here. Uncle David's got the other part of it that lights up that DIN. All I did was notch this hole out large enough for that wire to pass through, and then we can just pop this back in again. So let me put that together and I'll show you what that looks like. And you can see here with that light back in right here, the wire just passes through and is accessible to plug a cord into. Well, reassembly is just the reverse of everything else, so we're going to get the whole DIN kit put back in again, and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, and let's say 3 of 5 stars to Metra on this dash kit, because that was 2.5. It took a lot of taking pry tools and forcing the brackets down, bending them a bit so that this whole thing would slide together. But credit where credit's due, it is very tight and flush, and who knows, maybe it wouldn't be that way if it wasn't like that, but it's in there, and if you hook the battery up and turn the key, it works. And on top of that, we have a plug-in for a USB, which you can just push back up in there. There's some slack if you need it. We're going to put the rear end of this thing together and do some audio testing. David really, really, really wants to attach that somewhere right there. I told him it's just way too extra.
Boom.
But, you know, he can do that himself.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We're here. this is doing radio things. Yeah, I don't know how to work it, but Apple CarPlay works. Got a phone plugged in. Put it in reverse, and the reverse camera works as it should. So, note to the people who are doing this at home, we got everything up and running, camera was working, and then closed the car up and we're playing with the radio to tune it. And realized that the car thought the back hatch was open. The reason why David was poking at the lights up here is because they were on, and that's how we realized the car thought the back hatch was open. So you saw whenever I wired in the accessory power for the backup camera, the red plug, I grabbed the ground that comes off of that switchable light that's on the back hatch. Don't do that, because a Honda apparently needed to save a couple of cents on running an extra wire to body ground, and shares a PCM switchable computer controlled ground with the switch that determines whether or not the hatch is open. And for some reason, when the camera's on it, maybe it adds too much resistance to the circuit and the computer thinks the hatch is open. So we got off of that ground and then tied it directly to a bolt in the hatch and gave it earth, and it's fine. Camera comes on, everything works. We don't have the light on the dash. Simple enough. What do you think, David? Did that go relatively smoothly? Does it radio?
Relatively smooth. It's only, it says 421.
Oh, did it finally fix itself?
Maybe.
Oh, I bet you. Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
421.
It finally fixed itself.
Oh, it's 422 in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's 422 now.
It can't be perfect, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this Kenwood radio uses the phone that you connect to it to determine what the time is, and it took it a while for it to catch up. It's got the date right and the year and everything.
Yeah.
So David and Gina's gonna play around with that. Ooh, there's waterfalls on it right now.
That's high class.
That's cute.
Right there.
Anyways, so there you go. This isn't some full tutorial on how to do this, though. It might be more in depth than any of the video that I've seen on YouTube on how to wire all of these things, including a rear camera, which getting through this headliner wasn't extremely difficult, but certainly if you've got a Pilot that's this old, you probably really don't want to go prying at those plastics down at floor level, because chances are you're going to break a lot of clips, and we didn't do that.
And if your headliner is already somewhat saggy.
Yeah, it's
which, I mean, we went above the actual headliner.
Right, yeah, we slipped above it, but in this case, if we had hurt it, there would be no harm, but
sure.
we were able to tell that it's fine. Nothing was hurt.
See, it's nice and saggy right here.
Right. And a little bit
We'll get somebody
back there.
We'll get somebody to change that out.
Yeah. Anyways, well, thank y'all for coming along with us as usual. We love you. God bless. Peace. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. David,
What's up?
talking to the mic for a second.
Okay, mic check. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8.